All right, everybody, welcome back to Rarest Photos. I'm going to share a very cool interview with Jeannie LeMay, which was Linda Thompson's friend. Of course, we're reading her book right now. This is a very nice interview online that I've recently found, and just wanted to have a conversation. We want to dissect the interview. We want to provide commentary. I want to provide an opportunity for y'all to share your thoughts on, whether this interviewer asked her the right questions, hard questions, tough questions, too easy questions, and I want to know what you think about it.
All right, Jenny LeMay, can you please, it's Jeannie, right?
Oh, yeah, it's not Jen, it's Jeannie. Jeannie LeMay.
Okay, Jeannie LeMay.
That's okay.
Could you tell me where you were born and where you grew up?
I was born in Providence, and I did grow up here in Rhode Island. Lived here most of my life until I actually moved to Memphis in the 70s. So basically, I was here my whole life.
What did your parents do?
My mother was a housewife, and my dad worked for a naval base, like everybody else did. He was in the Navy, and but my mom she worked very little, but mostly was a housewife. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, when did you get into doing the pageants?
The pageant was done in '72, and when I won, I actually was in it 2 years before that, and I don't think I was really ready for the pageant. I just did it to do something exciting. But I got third runner-up in Miss Photogenic, and then 2 years later, I was talking to one of my friends who was in it, and she said, "Oh, I'm going to be in it again, and why don't you do it? Because we could have a good time." And so I said, "Okay," and so I won and got Miss Congeniality, and then of course, everything took off because in the Miss USA pageant, I was teamed with Linda Thompson. And the rest is history.
The rest is history, yeah.
Best experience of my life because we became instant friends and like sisters. And I have a twin sister, and I'll be honest with you, I was just as close to her as my own twin. And it was just nice. It was a nice difference of cultures there that kind of came together, and the North and the South there, and I loved it. It was just so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
She's the greatest girl. She's fantastic.
And she seemed like she was very bubbly.
Yeah. Oh yes. Well, we both got this congeniality in our state pageants, which was ironic, and I thought, from what I heard, I almost got the congeniality award in the USA pageant, from what somebody told me. Miss Utah got it that year, and I think Linda was also up in the running, but somebody had told me that, and I don't really know how true it is, but that's what they told me. But yeah, I think we both have a little bit of a bubbly personality, but Linda is a wit. She's far wittier than I am, and I think that's how she got along so well with Elvis, because he also had the same quality.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good point. They say opposites attract, but at the same time, when somebody can make you laugh and you can make them laugh, that turns a relationship into more of a fulfilling one. I don't know. I know this picture is a fake picture of Elvis with Esposito there, but I thought it was just nice. I mean, the thing is, I think we can get too serious in the Elvis world. I know that there's pictures of Lisa and Elvis that are fake, but sometimes you got to imagine those kind of things, and that's what the point of those photos are for. Let's see if the interviewer asks her any hard questions.
Yeah, she could just come up with things. Of course, she's a songwriter, and she could sit down and write things like that. So obviously, these things come to her very naturally.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell me how it came about that you and Linda met Elvis?
Well, we were invited by Bill Browder, who became T.G. Shepherd, a recording artist, and did Devil in the Bottle and all. And we went to lunch at the Friday's restaurant. There were no Friday's restaurants in Rhode Island, and she asked me if I wanted to go to Lafayette's or Friday's, and I said, "Oh well, Friday's looks kind of funky. Let's go there." And so everything was fated as far as I'm concerned, and even meeting Linda in that pageant. I mean, having all the states that you could have been roommates with, and they put me with Tennessee. So we really think it was fated, but he was there and knew Linda. Of course, she knew everybody. She won every talent in every pageant in Tennessee. But he invited us to go to the Memphian Theater that night at 12 midnight when Elvis rented out the theater. But I thought that he was just kidding, and he really was interested in Linda as a woman, because I really didn't know any better. I just assumed it because, my sister and I had met Tom Jones almost a year to the day in Rhode Island, and I just couldn't believe I was going to be this lucky.
I've got nothing against girls that are in pageants. I mean, I think that's wonderful. I mean, I think everybody has their own certain talent and skill sets. And certainly back in those days, those ladies had, I think maybe more talents or maybe more about philanthropy and thinking than nowadays. But it doesn't really matter. But she was very excited to see Tom Jones the year before. A fangirl, which can you blame her? There's no reason, there's no problem I have with her. I think she interviews wonderfully. So far, I haven't heard anything that's any different than what's in her book. But it's pleasant so far. But I still haven't heard any hard questions. And maybe that's not the point of the interviewer here. It's just a soft conversation. And to interject, does anybody think that she shouldn't have maybe released those photos? I don't have a problem personally on my side. But some people are thinking maybe that she should have kept those private pictures of Elvis's bedroom and bathroom private.
These two sex symbols, people I always, especially Elvis. I mean, I wanted to meet Elvis more than anybody, and I couldn't believe I was that fortunate. And so when we went to the theater that night at midnight, Bill was with another girl, and I said, "Wow, well that straightened that right out." And then all of a sudden we were in the lobby and Elvis came crashing through the doors with one of the bodyguards, and I thought I was seeing things. I just couldn't believe it. And he was dressed, kind of flamboyant. Of course, he had like a kind of a cape, and he reminded me of Dracula, and I even said that to Linda, and we both kind of giggled. But and then we went and sat down. Before we sat down, actually, Elvis had sat down first. Elvis always had to sit down first, and he always sat ahead of everybody in the theater, about 10 rows ahead of everybody. And he was with a group of people. It was a bunch of girls, of course, and all. And that's when Bill introduced us. He said, "This is Linda Thompson, Miss Tennessee. This is Jeannie LeMay, Miss Rhode Island." And then Linda was just like, kind of threw out something like, "Oh, my aunt told me to tell you to say hi because she lived at the Lauderdale courts and she can't blame you for getting out of there." Something like that. And I thought, oh my God, she's just so beyond confident.
Right.
I can't get over this. She just wasn't intimidated the least little bit. And she was laughing, and he seemed intrigued. He was smitten from the get-go.
Really?
Yes. You could tell. I mean, because right after that, I think he was saying like, "Wow, this girl really has something special." And of course, she looked gorgeous, just as tanned, and she had this cute little dress, and the cleavage was showing. She just looked beautiful. And so we sat down about 10 rows in back, and of course we're at the end of the aisle, and there was one seat that was vacant, and it was Linda and then me. But George Klein was sitting with us and talking to Linda. And Elvis kept turning around when the movie started. Kept turning around. And that's when, all of a sudden, Elvis came out of his chair and was walking toward the back of the theater, and George flew out of the chair in the middle of his conversation. I mean, didn't even finish it. So we didn't really know what was going on. Little did we realize they have their hand signals or whatever signals that they had.
Goodness.
And so instead of George coming back, it was Elvis. And he plopped down in the seat next to Linda.
Now, I know that's not Linda Thompson, but it's a great picture of Elvis, and that's kind of what I want to interject in this, so you can have the best of all worlds here. Um, yeah, I mean, I can picture Elvis moving and sitting next to Linda. It does. This interview does very much follow along with the book so far. So I'm interested to see where it leads.
I mean, really plops. I mean, hard. And Linda didn't blink an eyelash. I almost passed out. I mean, I really did. And she just said very confidently and laughing about it, "Oh, to what do we owe this honor?" And I must have jabbed her in the ribs so bad. I mean, she even said I probably bruised her. She had bruises to prove it, because I just couldn't believe she was saying this to him. And he started to stutter, like, Elvis's famous stutter, when he first started out. He would, well, I just thought I would sit down. And from then on, that was it.
Uh-huh.
That was it. They just hit it off, and he was, and she of course, knew that, thought that he was still married. We both did. And he said he was separated. He said it's in the, going to be in the papers or whatever.
Mm.
And so then Linda relaxed a little bit, because he was trying to kiss her, and the arm went around her shoulder. It was just brushing, his hand was just brushing my shoulder, and I swore I was never going to wash that area again. But, I mean, I couldn't believe that this guy was just sitting there next to my friend and trying to kiss her.
And she was holding back.
Pardon?
And she was holding back.
Yeah, until she actually found out that he was separated.
Mm-hmm.
She was very stiff, and she relaxed a little bit. I mean, but obviously he's still technically married. Linda's very old-fashioned.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the sweetest, most innocent little thing you can imagine. 22 years old. This was her first serious, intimate relationship,
Mm-hmm.
And that intrigued him. That definitely intrigued him, when he found out, just how pure this little girl was.
Uh-huh.
And then she had all the other qualities: the beauty, the charm, the wit, the everything. I mean, Linda had it all. Linda really had it all. There's a lot of people, myself included, that think she's the best thing that ever happened to Elvis.
Yeah.
And I mean, oh yes, because she not only saved his life a couple of times, but I mean, she took care of him like a nurse would. She was everything. She was like a best friend. She was, a confidant. She was like a mother.
There's a certain contingent of people that don't believe that Linda saved Elvis's life a few times, and that it's just made up and after the fact. We've heard stories from Larry Geller as well. We know Elvis had some health issues, just normal health issues, and then brought on by the medication. I'm going to ask y'all the same question. What do y'all think? Do you believe that Linda should have shared that information? And does that information that's being shared by Linda in the past and by Jeannie in the interview and in her book, does it change anything for you about Elvis?
But I mean, she took care of him like a nurse would. She was everything. She was like a best friend. She was, a confidant. She was like a mother, sister, lover, everything.
Mm-hmm.
The bodyguards have said this I don't know how many times, and it's true. And some people even think he would still be alive if she had been with him, which of course, I believe that it's God's will, and I mean, I still wish he was with us, but I think he's up there in heaven, and he's totally delighted at all this admiration he's getting. I really do. I think he's just up there laughing his head off. But she just was the best thing, I think, for him, and it's a shame they had to break up, but Elvis had his faults and his problems with the pills, which we all know about, and I think that it got to be too much with the ladies, and she just had to leave. She just did, and for whatever reason, God wanted him, and I just think, like I said, we should be lucky that we did have him for as long as we did, and we should naturally not worship him like I've said before, because I know that some fans did, and he wasn't a god to be worshipped, but he should be admired and respected and loved and appreciated for, his talent and his God given beauty. Oh, he was the most gorgeous man, in person, even more beautiful, if that is even feasible.
Even men say that he was absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, you couldn't even imagine. Like I couldn't look at him without turning away because he was because of the aura around him. Besides the looks. But he was just absolutely, I call it, he had this chewable mouth because, I did get a kiss. I'll be honest with you. But that's all, and that's all I would want, because there was no way that I would ever have made a pass at him or he would have made a pass at me.
I'm not sure if y'all remember that from the story, but it's kind of a funny thing that Elvis planted a very big kiss on Jeannie right in front of Linda on the first visit to Graceland. It surprised her, and I guess maybe to test Linda, perhaps, to see if she was the jealous type, to see how she'd respond. What do you think about that? Let's talk about that.
He knew that my devotion to Linda as a friend was far beyond that, and I know all the other women, including some people that pretended to be a friend, made passes at him, and that wasn't right. But he did, when we were taking pictures, when we did, get invited to Graceland after the first meeting. We were taking pictures, and of course he was kissing Linda in front of the doorway there, and I'm thinking, oh my God, these pictures are going to be unbelievable. And they never came out, mind you. I don't know what happened. I don't know if Red exposed the film. I don't know. I thought maybe that could have happened. I don't blame Red, but it's just odd that they were overexposed when I got the film. And then when I posed with him to take a picture, Red was taking it, and he just grabbed me and kissed me. And I know it wasn't because he was being disrespectful toward Linda, because he was with her all night. He was kidding around.
So how was it kissing Elvis Presley?
He liked to shock you. Everybody knows he loved to shock you. He loved to put you. That's why he would sometimes come out with this language that you would not even believe. He was so cute, but he would do it to shock you. And so, believe me, I almost passed out. Because he was, first of all, the best kisser, but he was with my friend, so I had to pretend that, I wasn't about to just drop, on the ground and calm down.
So your knees got a little wobbly, huh?
Oh, did they ever? And then, of course, he kissed us goodbye when we were in the car, but he kept kissing her and kissing her and kissing her, not wanting to let her go. And then he gave me a kiss, too. So I had my second kiss, but, a little one. But really, when we were going home that night, I was screaming down the driveway. Oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. Because he was with her upstairs for hours. Yeah. And I thought he had taken advantage of her. And I kept, calling up there saying, Elvis, we got to go, because her family was expecting us to go on vacation to Gulf Shores, Alabama. And it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and we had to leave at 5. So when she came back down, I'm like, she didn't look flustered to me. So she, I said maybe she's intact, because I just couldn't believe that Elvis Presley.
You were worried about her.
Yeah.
I mean, this beautiful blonde beauty upstairs in Elvis's bedroom with the king of rock and roll,
and nothing's going to happen. Yeah. I knew Linda was pretty old-fashioned, and I knew she was, very pure, and...
Well, I want to hear your thoughts on this. I think that she sounds like she's very much admiring Elvis, and, of course, admiring Linda, her friend. And, of course, Linda allowed those pictures to be published in a book, or permission by Linda, and I think that it's an interesting story, because she shared a couple different very telling sections of Elvis's life with Linda, in a way. And Linda Thompson is a big part of the story of Elvis. And so I think it's very important historically to examine these interviews, and to I want to hear your opinions. So I'll do a comment video probably based upon this video, and then we'll get into part 2 perhaps tomorrow or the next day. TCB TLC. This is Rare Elvis Photos. Until we meet again.